From 1850 to 2011, an estimated 5,000 bodies have been recovered from the foot of the 3 waterfalls that make up Niagara Falls. An average of 20 to 30 people die going over annually. While the mortality rate of the Daredevils sits at about 25%, the majority of those winding up dead end up being suicides. These are so rarely publicized that even locals like myself find themselves dumbfounded by the numbers. I guess the honeymoon capital of the world didn't feel that this information would help the bottom line. I'm ThinkSoJoE, this is Things You Might Not Know, and today I'm going to tell you about the absolute insanity that is the Daredevils of Niagara Falls. The natural wonder of the world that we universally recognize as Niagara Falls is actually a grouping of 3 distinct waterfalls that appear on the international border of Western New York and Southern Ontario, Canada. The waterfalls themselves are fed by the Upper Niagara River, which begins at Lake Erie. Then, after a 160-foot drop that would cause the soul to leave an average person's body as their stomach moves into their throat, the resulting rapids feed into Lake Ontario. 3 distinct waterfalls make up the whole of Niagara Falls. The largest is the Horseshoe Falls, aka the Canadian Falls, which spans the border of the 2 countries. The 2 additional smaller waterfalls, the Bridal Veil and American Falls, both exist exclusively on the New York side. Despite the amount of waterfall that actually exists on their side of the border, the city of Niagara Falls, Ontario at the end of the 20th and beginning of the 21st centuries became a bustling tourist destination that has come to define the overall aesthetic of the region. Niagara Falls, New York, on the other hand, exists. I'll note here that I'm exaggerating the disparities in tourism between the 2 sides, but only a little. As someone raised on the American side, I'll be damned if I let those Canucks get all of the attention. At peak daytime hours, an average of more than 6 million cubic feet per minute of water will spill over the crest of the falls. Because humans are overall self-destructive, since the year 1850, thousands of daredevils have looked at Niagara Falls, especially the Horseshoe Falls, and said to themselves, "Challenge accepted!" Of course, not all of these people went over purposefully, as there have been many reports of some going over accidentally. That being said, the majority of this number is made up of both stunts and suicide attempts. Of the thousands of people that have attempted the feat, only a reported 16 have survived. The most popular method of going over amongst those who were strictly in it for the thrill or bragging rights was to stuff themselves into a wooden or steel barrel and crossing their fingers that they don't land directly on the jagged rocks that the waterfalls themselves tend to obscure. The first person deliberately to go over and survive was Annie Edson Taylor in October 1901, doing so in an oak barrel. She made sure that she tested her theory first by sending a cat over in the designated barrel a couple of days before, which was successful. Driven mainly by the future financial gain she hoped would occur in response to her death-defying feat, Annie Edson Taylor took her trip over on October 24th. Although she did get a bit banged up, Annie survived her journey. She did initially earn some money doing speaking engagements to tell her story, but didn't hold on to it for long. Her duplicitous manager, Frank M. Russell, ran away not only with the money she had earned thus far, but also absconded with her barrel. After her feat, Taylor told the press, "If it was with my dying breath, I would caution anyone against attempting the feat. I would sooner walk up to the mouth of a cannon, knowing it was going to blow me to pieces, than make another trip over the fall." Another notable story in the pantheon of the Daredevils of Niagara Falls is that of George Takakis, a Greek immigrant who lived and worked in Buffalo, New York, approximately 20 miles south from the attraction. He was unfortunately not as lucky as Annie Edson Taylor was, though. On the 4th of July, 1930, Takakis went over the Horseshoe Falls, also in a wooden barrel. He did actually make it through the initial fall with his barrel remaining intact, which would ironically end up being his undoing. When the barrel landed, it got lodged in the jagged rocks below behind the wall of water. Because of where George Takakis landed, no one was able to reach him for 18 hours. Being that he only had about 8 hours of usable oxygen, Takakis died of suffocation. The 150-year-old pet turtle that he brought with him for the plunge miraculously survived the entire ordeal. While he was not the last to ever attempt to go over Niagara Falls in a blaze of glory, the game changed after William Red Hill Jr.'s attempt. On October 5, 1951, Hill Jr. died on impact after hitting the rocks below, with his body not being able to be recovered until the following day. After this, both the American and Canadian governments took action. Stunts that involve trips over Niagara Falls are now deemed illegal, and those that attempt this, assuming they survive, are subject to a fine of up to $25,000. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Things You Might Not Know. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can see a playlist of Things You Might Not Know videos over here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.